Hey guys, welcome to a new style of video that we are putting out, and that is that we are going to be answering your questions. So if you want to submit a question for us to feature on one of these videos, in the description box you will find our email as well as our Instagram handles. You can message us there, or you can leave a question in the comments of this video. So this question came from one of our patrons, and they wanted to know if we could describe our maintenance, how we use maintenance, and what our maintenance looks like. We've talked about our maintenance before, and we've kind of casually mentioned it here and there throughout the podcast, but it's been a while, so I thought that it was a good time to kind of give an updated overview of how we use maintenance and what that looks like.
We use maintenance primarily just to keep a consistency for Aria and a regulation for her. If we don't follow through with maintenance at specific times during the week, that she gets a little dysregulated and things can come off the track a little bit. So we primarily use maintenance to just keep things consistent, I would say, and regulate emotions. Would that be fair?
Yes. So we use maintenance for a few reasons. We use it for stress management, emotional regulation, to stay in our roles, perspective roles, and then also just to set expectations and offer some guidance. Really, it's a way to check in and offer guidance and correction before a punishment is necessary. That way you can kind of correct and guide and steer before it gets to the point of a rule actually being broken.
I might implement that a little bit more. That actually is really helpful to me.
But like I said, we use maintenance in a few different ways, and however it needs to function within your relationship primarily, that's what you need to kind of go into and see, okay, do we need more guidance? Do we need more stress management? Do we need to solidify our roles more? Do we need direction in the rules and that sort of thing? And it can be a combination, and I think that we have found that having a little bit more of a combination is helpful.
Yeah, and so we begin our maintenance first by just having a conversation. And I want to see if we're on the same page. I want to see if she's assessing what she's done is the same as mine. Because if we're way off on that, the first thing I need to think about is, okay, why is that? Is she being too hard on herself, or am I missing something? Am I not checking in enough? Am I kind of neglecting my side as the head of household? Mm-hmm. So that's important. So that check-in is important before we ever start, before she ever gets over my knee and we start the maintenance spanking, we do that check-in.
So kind of covered why we use maintenance and kind of some of the things that might be unique to us. I don't know how everybody else does it. But maintenance is not an exercise of endurance. It's not pain focused.
Correct.
It's more, how would you put it? Like,
I put it, the reason we start very soft and then we get a little bit more intense towards the end is it's a reminder of don't get out of line, because this could be coming. So it's just a reminder. That's the way I do it. I don't want to call it a warning because she hasn't done anything wrong, but it's a reminder, hey, keep doing what you're doing, because the alternative you don't want.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, like last night after the maintenance, I walked away pretty sore from that. Not only because I had been punished.
Recently had a punishment.
But also because by the maintenance for us lasts as long as it is necessary. And because I had more to work through, it was a longer maintenance than what we typically do. And so that would be the other aspect, is maintenance doesn't have a set number of swats or minutes or rounds or whatever you want to call it. Like, it just goes until we've worked through whatever we need to work through, whether that's giving direction or the stress management. However long it needs to be, that's how long it is.
Because I basically do it in sets. So when she says you start off very soft, I do it really soft and then I take a break, and I don't really lecture, but I basically say, hey, process through this.
You check in
Or
with me.
check in. Thank you. That's a great way to say it. Then I do another round, maybe at that same intensity again, because again, I'm slowly trying to build up the intensity a little bit. Then I check in, and then I increase the intensity a little bit, and then I stop and check in. Then I stay at that intensity and check in. And then I increase it. For me, it's kind of in twos. So I start at 0, then I kind of go to 1, then I go to 2, and however long it takes to her to process. But I try to get to, what would you say, a 4 or 5 by the time, or maybe more of a 6?
I would say probably a 6, maybe even a 7. Last night, I would say you got into 8 territory.
I got into 8 territory, and it wasn't because she was doing anything wrong. Again, it was just increasing the intensity, but I felt like where she was emotionally, she needed me to increase it a little bit. But I wasn't going to go beyond 8. Yeah. I never go beyond 8, because then now we're in punishment territory. But I stay at 8 for as long as she needs to process. And finally, towards the end there, we didn't stay at 8 very long. We were there, but I finally felt like, okay, she's finally had that break. She's let it all go. There it is.
So real quick, just to kind of recap, we use a 1 to 10 scale. So we have that conversation. We have a check-in. He gets a sense of where I'm at, what this maintenance spanking needs to accomplish. I go over his knee. It starts on bare skin, and he does use a paddle because that's his preferred implement. We use a acrylic paddle. It is quite stingy, but it is very versatile from the standpoint that it can feel as light or as harsh as the head of household wants it to. And so he starts very light, again, slowly building, checking in. I would say that he gives me, would you say, probably between 20 to 30, maybe 35 swats?
Yeah, I don't.
For each round.
That's probably fair. I don't try and count them, because I don't want this to be, I want it to be systematic, but I don't want it to be mechanical. Does that make sense? So I just try to kind of gauge it, but that's probably a fair
anywhere
amount.
Between 20 and 40 swats.
Somewhere in there.
And then he'll pause and check in. Another 20 or 40, pause and check in. Again, slowly, gradually building the intensity. And so when I tell people that my maintenance spankings are, upwards of 200, 300 swats, they think like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. But a good half of those are not really even feeling
super
stingy.
Intense. Right.
Yeah, I was about to say, the first few rounds don't even really feel stingy at all. I don't say anything because I know it's going to get there.
Right.
Because I have been tempted before to be like, you could go ahead and jump to the next intensity, but I know it's going to get there, so I don't say anything because I'm like, there's a process here, and he's figured it out.
Good girl.
And so, again, slowly building that intensity from 1 into 2, 3. And again, most of our maintenances probably stay around a 5 or 6.
Yep.
But sometimes building more if that is what is warranted in that moment.
Yeah.
And that what determines if it's warranted is, number one, if there is some behavior that does need a slight correction, but not enough for a punishment, but it does need some slight correction. It might be a little bit more intense. Or if there's a lot of emotions or stresses to process, then it might become a little bit more intense for that purpose.
Because remember, this is all about helping your partner stay on track.
Mm-hmm. We only use over the knee for maintenance. We don't go into any other positions because we reserve those for punishments.
Yep.
And so I'm over his knee the whole time. There's a level of like gentle touch incorporated into maintenance too that is just unique to maintenance that we don't do during punishment, that it's almost a nonverbal like encouragement.
I do that not only to reassure her, but also that's also when I know where she is with maintenance, because if she's having a hard time processing an emotion, she will hold my hand a certain way or she won't hold it. Or when she's really processed through the emotions, she'll hold it real close, like to her face, or she will kiss my hand or something like that. And then I know, okay, we've broken in back to this place where she's feeling regulated again. And so that's why I do that.
And so that's basically how we do it. Is I go over his knee, we start light,
Slowly increase.
slowly increase until we hit an intensity that feels necessary and productive, but not getting into punishment levels of intensity.
Right. You really want to distinguish this from punishment. That's very, very important. So really try not to, head of households, get into that stinginess of punishment territory. That's not what you want here.
And just try to keep it productive
Yep.
towards the goal. And the goal is to re-solidify roles
Yep.
and to set the taken in hand up for success in showing up in their role the way they need to.
Yes, absolutely.
So
there it is.
Hope that helps. And we will see you guys next time. Let us know if you if you like this style of video where we just kind of quickly answer a question. And again, if you want to submit a question to be featured in one of these videos, email us, message us on Instagram, or leave it in the comments, and we will start compiling a list of those and
try to get to them as soon as we can.
Awesome. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.